Hello and welcome. This is going to be a long and a fun video. First of all, of course, where are my manners? Happy Victory Monday to everyone. Buccaneers yesterday beat the New Orleans Saints, and that was fantastic. Couple things I want to say about the game. I just want to address a few things about the game that a lot of things I could talk about, but a few that I really want to. First thing I want to say, I am so glad that Derek Carr played in the game. Leading up to the game all week, there was a lot of talk and a lot of speculation that Jameis Winston was going to play. Derek Carr was not going to be healthy and unable to play. And we, on this channel, had talked about it in a prior video. Like, I really do not want to watch Jameis Winston play football anymore. As a Bucs fan and a former Jameis Winston observer every Sunday, I've seen enough. I did not want to watch him play at all. And I was really excited about this Bucs-Saints game, and I talked about how this was one of the few Bucs-Saints games in my history as a fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where I was excited for the matchup because it felt like it was an opportunity for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to turn the page to a new chapter in the rivalry. The franchise quarterback of the Saints, the new franchise quarterback of the Saints is now in place, and the potential new franchise quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is now in place. Let's see what it looks like, right? New pieces, new players on the board. What is the game going to look like? And I'm just so glad Derek Carr played. That's not a hindsight, looking back on it kind of a thing. I was appreciative of the fact that he played just because if Jameis Winston played the whole game, everything would have been blamed on Jameis Winston if the Saints lost. The whole storyline leading up to it would have been Jameis Winston revenge game, Jameis Winston revenge game, Jameis Winston revenge game. And then if Jameis Winston did anything wrong or the Bucs did anything right, Jameis Winston would take all the heat for this game. It would get dropped on him. And honestly, like Jameis Winston, the story of Jameis Winston, it's sad. And it makes me sad. Like his career arc is so disappointing. I honestly just feel bad for him. So I didn't want to watch it. So I'm glad that Derek Carr played. First thing I got to get out of the way. Done. Number 2, Antoine Winfield Jr. I'll make it quick so we can get on to number 3. Antoine Winfield Jr. is one of the best players on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is no surprise to anyone. He's been a stud since he joined the team. 2020, rookie season, stud. 2021, sophomore season, stud. 2022, third season, stud. 2023, welcome to another season of Antoine Winfield Jr. being a stud. And we all know it, but when you see it in a game like today, or yesterday, in a game like yesterday, man, he's just everywhere. I mean, in the backfield, pressuring the quarterback. In the backfield, getting a TFL. Coverage downfield on a deep ball. Coming up to make a tackle on a check down. Short tackler in open field. Antoine Winfield Jr. is one of the best blitzers on the team. I'm going to say easily the best, most consistent, sure tackler on the team. And pound for pound, he's probably the best player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is so reliable for the Bucs in every facet of defensive football. The offseason, dealing with his contract and all the other contracts the Buccaneers have to deal with, that is going to be tough. Antoine Winfield Jr., just when you watch it, play the game, his strip and recovery, after Baker threw his interception, and Antoine Winfield Jr. immediately responded by getting the ball right back to Tampa's offense before the half so we could punch it in and score. Classic. Antoine Winfield Jr. just looked like the best player on the field, bar none, for both sides of the ball, both teams. Number 3, it's time to go outside, get to the garden, get like a vase or a vase, depending on how you want to say it, and pick some flowers for Dave Canales. Because the hiring process to get Dave Canales took a very long time. He was not like a fan favorite that people thought like that's the guy we need to get. And Todd Bowles, one of the best things he's done in his tenure as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach is hire Dave Canales. And I can't believe it. How the night and day difference, coaching gets brushed over a lot. How important is coaching, right? Everybody's like, wow, we need players, we need players, we need players. And then you get players, but if they're in the wrong system or they don't have, adequate tutelage, they don't succeed. They don't thrive the way you feel like they could in a different circumstance. Coaching is so evident when you look at last year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers on offense to this year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers on offense. Byron Leftwich versus Dave Canales it's Tom Brady somehow looked worse with Byron Leftwich than Baker Mayfield looks with Dave Canales. Now, obviously, Baker Mayfield is not Tom Brady. But Dave Canales laps Byron Leftwich so much as a coordinator, a play caller, a strategizer, that he makes up for the gap between last year's Tom Brady, which wasn't peak Tom Brady, but still last year's Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield. And that is alarming for Byron Leftwich, by the way, and a very large compliment to Dave Canales. So, got to give the man his flowers. Go outside, pick some roses, get some nice real petals, water them, keep them fresh, bring them to Dave Canales, $1 place, a little note on there. We love you, Dave. Thanks for coming. Dave Canales, the Buccaneers' creativity in their play calls. We had Chris Godwin throw a pass. It didn't, like just the willingness. Obviously, it wasn't a successful play. It's about the willingness to keep the defense off guard and the willingness to get creative in what you're doing. Don't be predictable. Good offenses are not predictable. And that is what the Buccaneers have become. And when you see what it was last year and you see what it is this year, it's hard not to be impressed and to credit the man. Next thing we got to talk about, it's the man of the hour, right? Shake and bake. Baker Mayfield. Listen, I was really excited for this game, and the main reason was I wanted to see Baker Mayfield. And I felt like this game was going to tell me a lot about Baker Mayfield and what his Bucs tenure will look like, and just a lot about how he's going to be. The Saints are no joke as an opponent. I don't care what their record is. I don't care what the situation is in terms of, fully like who's playing and who's not playing, injuries and things like that. The Saints are no slouch. And going into the Dome, not an easy place to play. Tough environment. No matter how good the Saints are, the place is always booming. And Baker Mayfield, in the back of my mind, I was thinking a lot about the fact that, I want to see Baker in that environment. Because, yes, the Buccaneers lost to the Eagles. If you go down the schedule, right, they beat the Vikings. That was a tough environment because the Dome gets loud. But the Vikings are not that kind of team. They're not like a gritty team. They're just not. The Bears, then week 3, the Eagles, they're just better than the Bucs. So, it's hard to be mad at anybody on the Buccaneers for losing that game. Yes, you wish it would have been a better game, but at the same time, it's just, that's the two unevenly matched teams. This was an opportunity for Baker Mayfield in the most hostile of environments against a division rival on a big, coming off a loss, heading into the bye, knowing you're competing for first place in the division and you're up against the division rival that everybody under the sun said was going to walk away with the NFC South title this year. You've got that opportunity presented in front of you. How do you respond? What do you do? And I just came away so impressed. I don't have these expectations of Baker Mayfield to look like the best quarterback in the league. I really don't. And if you follow the channel at all, I've been on the Baker train since he was signed by the Bucs. I immediately put out a rant, and I went on a whole tangent. It's probably one of the longer videos on this whole channel, talking about how Baker Mayfield is going to be the Buccaneers quarterback 3-4 years down the road. He's going to earn himself. He's going to outplay Trask, get the job, earn himself a contract. I still stand by that. But this game or games like this is why. Because Baker Mayfield's demeanor whether or not Baker Mayfield is limited, and you'll get no pushback from me on this. Baker Mayfield is a limited quarterback. He will never be elite, right? He's just not an elite quarterback. But Baker Mayfield's demeanor is what separates him. And he played up to the environment of that game. That was a feisty game. And Baker Mayfield plays up to those moments. And it's so important for athletes as a whole, any athlete, but quarterbacks especially, because quarterbacks set the tone. So when you have a quarterback who plays up to that and you're watching it and you're watching his energy, you're going to vibe off of that energy. It's just natural. He's the leader of the team. At least definitively he's the leader of the offense. And that gives you a lot of grit yourself because you feel it and you feed off of that energy. And Baker Mayfield is nothing if not a ball of energy. And the Saints did what they always do against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? They're bullies. And they always have been. They're just, it's disgusting how predictably like pathetic the strategy is of the Saints to be bullies every time and just bank on the fact that that's going to work. And that's where they came out, right? That was their headspace. They were like, oh, let's just beat everybody up. Let's try to start fights with Mike Evans. Let's try to hit Baker Mayfield late. Let's try to get under the Buccaneers' skin and see if we can throttle them and just like break them mentally. And the Buccaneers showed such tremendous mental strength. They just didn't go back at the Saints at all. They just handled business. And Baker Mayfield just made plays. He wasn't phased. He got hit late. He got hit hard a couple times because Baker Mayfield's a small guy. So when he gets hit by a bigger guy, it looks, whether or not it feels like a harder hit than anyone else is taking, it doesn't look the same as when a much bigger quarterback gets hit. He looks like he's getting throttled in the pocket. And you see plays like that, and this is where, to me, I was very impressed by Kyle Trask in the preseason. And I like Kyle Trask, and I would love to have seen what Kyle Trask could have brought to this team. But the one thing that I think maybe really edged Baker over Trask, and in my mind always kind of was in Baker's corner, as I'm quite literally in a corner, was the fact that in a moment like this, in a game like this where it is scrappy, you're in a scrappy, like, rub some dirt on it and walk it off kind of game. Baker Mayfield doesn't run from that. And Baker Mayfield's demeanor remains composed. He is fiery. He embraces that. Kyle Trask, I'm not saying he doesn't. I just don't know. I'm not sure. I've never seen it. I really don't know. And that's the thing I think the Buccaneers had to weigh on their mind because there's hesitancy there because you don't know. If you haven't seen somebody do it, you don't know how they're going to handle or, if they can do it and how they're going to handle that environment. Baker Mayfield has played in, playoff games and he's gone to Pittsburgh as a Cleveland Brown. Like, yes, the Dome is an intense place to play and it's a rivalry and it's a physical game, but Baker Mayfield is not new to those moments. So to me, I always felt like that was an edge Baker had over Trask, and you saw it really come into action, like come to fruition today, because Baker Mayfield could have bent. He could have really gone in his shell. When he threw that interception right at the end of the first half, that was a massive potential turning point in the game. It actually turned out to be a turning point right back, which negated any original turning point because it 180'd and then it 180'd again, so it just 360'd back to the original rotation of the momentum. But Baker Mayfield could have went in the tank. Mike Evans hurt, out. You lose your top guy. You just threw an interception on what was admittedly a not good read, not good decision. Chris Godwin wasn't open, and you, even on top of making a bad decision, you made a bad throw. It was underthrown. You didn't even give him a chance. And it was not even, Chris Godwin didn't even win on the route at all. Godwin got totally, just a terrible rep for Buccaneers players all around. And you could have went in the tank. You really could have. And he came back immediately and threw a touchdown pass to the guy who came in for Mike Evans. So that shows you something. And getting hit, as many times as getting hit, limping off the field, scrambling around, making plays. And the other thing that really impresses me, maybe the most with Baker Mayfield this year as a whole, and of course it showed up in this game as well, and this has to do with the poise factor that I was kind of alluding to, is Baker Mayfield's you can see how much he's fighting his natural instinct to be aggressive. Baker Mayfield wants to take shots downfield. He wants to try and make plays. He wants to scramble out of the pocket, start slinging the rock all over the place. He wants to play like Josh Allen, right? He wants to play like that. And you can see it. But to the credit of the Buccaneers coaches, they got to him early and they got to him often. Throughout training camp, you heard Baker Mayfield, if you watch his interviews, all he talked about in training camp was, well, we got a good defense. I don't want to take risks. It's all about, we got to end every drive with a kick. It's okay to punt. They tried to drill it into his head. You don't need to make every play because the Buccaneers defense can back you up. If you punt it, it's not the end of the world. And you can see there's so many times, I'm going to say 2 to 3 times throughout every single game where you can see Baker Mayfield fight his natural instinct and tendency to try and play make and instead make a smart decision. Just scramble, get a couple yards, or just roll out, throw it away, or just ground it, dirt it, throw it at someone's feet, and move on to the next play. And that is coming from Jameis Winston, going to Tom Brady. That is the way it should be played. Okay, we've seen both ends of the spectrum. Tom Brady, very conservative. Jameis Winston doesn't even know where conservative is on the map, okay, because he can't even see it. It's a blip all the way on the horizon. And seeing Baker Mayfield make consistently smart decisions over and over again when being tested and being presented with opportunities to maybe take a risk shows you how much he's grown. And if he could keep that up, of course it's an if he keeps that up, though, that is what gets him paid. Because the Buccaneers will pay for that level of consistency. You don't have to make every play. Just don't lose games. Actively contribute to winning without actively contributing to a loss. That is the key for Tampa Bay. All around, there's a very good chance that at the end of the year, barring the Buccaneers getting to the playoffs or having some big, crazy cool win somewhere, this could be the best game of the season. Bucs fans, this is really a video for Tampa Bay fans. If you're not a Bucs fan, you might not even be able to appreciate what it's really the importance of this game. But going into the Dome, taking on the bully and beating the bully, and beating the Saints like that, and just all around aces. Aces game. Enjoy your victory Monday. Let's also take a minute. Jameis Winston coming in for one play at the end of the game, just to throw an interception. That was for the memes, right? That had to be, in my time watching a Bucs game, all time, that is the funniest moment I've ever witnessed, honestly. When Jameis Winston was playing for the Saints last year, I wanted to beat the Saints so bad. I wanted to just beat them down. I was like, Jameis Winston went to the Saints, and then they're trying to make him into a franchise quarterback. I just wanted to beat him down. Wanted interceptions, sacks, fumbles, you name it. Now, like I said earlier, I just really feel bad for Jameis Winston. I think he has become honestly, he's become a meme. He's kind of become a joke. And I feel bad for him because I don't think necessarily anybody deserves that. And I think Jameis does try hard, probably a little too hard sometimes. And the fact that he came in for one pass and you're just sitting there watching it, you're like, he's just going to throw it up. And then he drops back and he actually just throws it up. And then you see it go up and you're like, it's not even open. It's getting picked. And then you watch D. Delaney run underneath a woefully underthrown pass to intercept it. That is the cherry on top of a beautifully sculpted ice cream sundae. So enjoy your victory Monday. I don't know how you could have not enjoyed your Sunday with the Buccaneers playing like that. Lights out game. Bucs beat the Saints in the Dome. First place in the division. 3-1 on the season. Things are looking up for the Tampa Bakers.